Morning, Glory America, bonjour, hi Canada. It is June the 10th in the year of our Lord 2022. I'm Hugh Hewitt, live inside of the Beltway. There was no news at the January 6th hearing last night. And so if you expect anything about that, you're not going to get it from me because there was no news. It was a show trial. January 6th was an awful day. Everyone should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and they will be, and I'm glad. There was no news last night, objectively. It was catharsis for some people, and it certainly was, it was a spectacle, but it wasn't newsy. I do know that the news will be about 8:30 this morning when the Labor Department releases the year-over-year and month-over-month inflation figures. Remember, reading from the Wall Street Journal this morning, price pressures have driven U.S. inflation to a four-decade high, likely remained elevated in May. The Labor Department is expected to report the Consumer Price Index, which rose in 8.3% in May year over year, and that was a hold steady, 8.3 year over year for 2 months in a row, but it went up month to month. It was 5.9%. I'm sorry, it went down a little bit. It was in 5.9% in May, down from 6% in April. March's 6.5% rise was the highest rate since August of 1982. But the 8.3% year-over-year direction of inflation is what the story of the day will be. Now, that doesn't mean there wasn't news yesterday. There was a lot of news. First of all, there's a very difficult-to-read New York Times piece on Uvalde. This is by David Goodman. Heavily armed officers delayed confronting a gunman in Uvalde, Texas, for more than an hour, even though supervisors at the scene had been told that some trapped with him in two elementary school classrooms needed medical treatment. A new review of video footage and other investigative materials shows. The school district police chief who was leading the response appeared to be agonizing over the length of time it was taking to secure the shields that would help protect officers when they entered and to find a key for the classroom doors. The chief, Pete Arredondo, and the others at the scene became aware that not everyone inside the classroom was already dead, the documents showed, including a report from a school district police officer whose wife, a teacher, had spoken to him by phone from one of the classrooms to say she had been shot. More than a dozen of the 33 children and 3 teachers originally in the 2 classrooms remained alive during the 1 hour and 17 minutes from the time that the shooting began. That's horrific. That's news. That's horrific. And I don't judge police officers. I can't do their job. Police officers riding around and talk to us about this, and our friend in Columbus spoke for every police officer in the country who said they should have gone in. There wasn't any doubt about that in anyone's mind, but that there had been some expectation that they were unaware that the children were alive and the teachers, now that's gone. Inexplicably, the second biggest story of the day is the House did not pass security for Supreme Court justices after the attempted assassination of Justice Kavanaugh 2 days ago. Leader McCarthy, the House leader of the GOP, went to the floor, said this, cut number 1.
House Democrats are leaving. Today they want to leave for a long weekend. They gave tomorrow back. I spoke to the majority leader this morning. I told him nobody on this side would object. A unanimous consent. He could run that bill on the floor right now and send it to the president so we could protect the Supreme Court. How many times do they have to be threatened? How many people have to be arrested with a gun outside their home? What would
McCarthy laid that down. Nancy Pelosi answered.
He didn't just
cut
have
number
a gun.
2 at a House presser.
How can you say that the justices are protected when there was an attempt on Justice Kavanaugh's life? You said the justices are protected, but there was an attempt on Justice Kavanaugh's life.
It's protected. The justices are protected. This issue is not about the justice. It's about staff and the rest. The justices are protected.
Unbelievable. They didn't do anything. She said they're protected. It's about their family, their neighbors, and 24/7 protection. And Nancy Pelosi will be responsible. She is already proximately responsible for the failure to pass or bring to the floor a bill that passed the Senate unanimously. It's unbelievable that they did that. Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida on this subject. Cut number 6.
But, the silence is deafening from a lot of our media outlets on this. They do not want to talk about it. Honestly, a lot of them have some really screwed up priorities, as we see almost every day. But I can only imagine if the shoe is reversed, they would be going berserk if you had some Trump supporter doing anything even approaching to that. So I think it's important for everybody across the political spectrum to just say, there's no place for that type of behavior in American society.
So the unbelievable juxtaposition of the real attempt to assassinate Justice Kavanaugh with the what turned out to be a show trial. Kim Strassel has a great piece in the Wall Street Journal. I tweeted it out last night, and it's an illegitimate committee. I've said that from the beginning, and Kimberly Strassel said it better than I would. The uncredible January 6th committee. Americans needed a serious accounting. Democrats assured that they won't get one, and that is the case. Other news, a fatal blow to the Iran talks. As the UN nuclear watchdog says, Iran is removing 27 surveillance cameras. There's not going to be a deal. That's sort of good news, but it's bad news. That means Iran's going to go for broke, and that means Israel has to act, and Israel's crippled. The coalition granted a weekend reprieve after a good Bennett-Orbach meeting. Now, look, that's inside baseball in Israel, but it totters on the edge of falling apart, and that they're at the brink of confrontation with Iran, and they don't have a government. Also, might be newsworthy. You probably didn't see it on the news last night because the blue bubble is fixated on the show trial, is that Vladimir Putin yesterday compared himself to Peter the Great in the need to take back Russian lands. So we got Finland also announced they're building a wall on their border with Russia. They're building barriers on their border with Russia. So Finland's got the score. The European Central Bank is turning hawkish to counter record high inflation. Big shakeup at Disney yesterday as they fired the top executive Peter Rice as the board backs CEO Bob Chapek after the meltdown in Florida, and they become pariah in the business community. Ryan Kelly, who you've heard on this show once. I don't know Ryan Kelly. He is among the people running for governor in Michigan. He was arrested by the FBI yesterday for incursion into the Capitol. Needless to say, that's not on his website, nor did the FBI bother to tell Michigan in any way that would have kept him off the ballot. But Ryan Kelly has been arrested on several misdemeanor charges, including disorderly conduct. Of course, innocent proven guilty, but you don't nominate someone that way. But he got 15,000 signatures plus. He's actually on the ballot, whereas a couple of the Republicans screwed it up. And he was on the show once for 10 minutes. And my run around the states talking to everyone running who's going to make the ballot. Facebook rethinks new deals, and publishers stand to lose millions in payments. Facebook they must be short on cash or something, but they have said, we're not going to pay $15 million to the Washington Post or $20 million to the New York Times or $10 million to the Wall Street Journal. They're done with that. There was an explosion at a Texas liquid natural gas plant that puts added strain on the global energy market. I've already told you about Kim Strassel and January 6th committee. Last night, I finished watching We Own This City, which is an HBO special that I'll talk about, a 6-part HBO series by the people who brought you The Wire. Boy, am I glad I don't live in Baltimore, but I'm not sure if it's really the truth about living in Baltimore. I would like Detective Tom, if he is out there, to give me a call this morning, 1-800-520-1234. The subject is dirty cops, and if you watch We Own This City, you'll think that every policeman in America is corrupt, which is what the left-wing filmmaker wanted you to believe, and that race drives everything at the Department of Justice. It ain't true, but I'd like to talk to Detective Tom about it. Stay tuned, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Welcome back, America. I am joined by the poet laureate of the Hugh Hewitt Show, Tarzana Joe, and a happy belated birthday to Joe, who was born a day after the Fetching Mrs. Hewitt. And it was yesterday, 2 days after the fetch. You were born on the 9th, right?
Well, I'm not going to tell you the exact date or my favorite pet or mother's maiden name for security reasons, Hugh. But yes, it's the week I turned 65. So I ask you to indulge me in a little personal poetry, although it's on a universal theme, right? Growing older.
Please, getting older.
This is a short poem I wrote a few years ago called Thoughts at Age 30.
Oh!
I am the same age that I have always been. a flash of fading light to live in, experience fixed by memory's pin, I am the same age that I have always been. Now, a few years later, I wrote a poem called Thoughts at Age 50. As a lazy poet, it's the same poem. Today, it's Thoughts at 65. My kidneys weak, my heart shivers. I'm on the waiting list for livers. I squeak each time I bend my knees. Once a week, I lose my keys. I can't hear when my wife's calling. My scores on Jeopardy have fallen. No hour breaks without a yawn. I yell at kids who cross my lawn. My resume is full of ills. My cabinet is full of pills. I lose more often than I win, but I am the same age that I have always been. By Tarzana Joe.
You know, Joe, I expected a line. You're eligible to be president in 10 years. So you
and if the constitutional amendment you propose passes, I'll be right out of office in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Joe, I really appreciate your aging because if you have only lost your keys once this week, you're doing better than most of us. How about the cell phone? How often are you looking for the cell phone, Joe?
Oh, I have the the Apple Watch where I can touch it and it bings my cell phone. So that's like, whoa, that saves me a lot of time.
Are you going to have help? I've fallen down and I need help things ads pretty soon? I'm not a big ad for Apple here, but that happens if you fall down and don't move with the Apple Watch. Oh, well, that's what does it say? Does it say send the ambulance or send the hearse? What does it say?
It calls my wife, then she has to deal with it.
All right, Joe, that will be posted, all of them, I assume, at TarzanaJoe.com. Are you too tired to take other poetry commissions, or are you still working?
I'm taking a little break, yeah.
No, come on. People need their poetry. TarzanaJoe at Reagan.com. TarzanaJoe at Reagan.com, right?
And TarzanaJoe.com.
And TarzanaJoe.com. Go get your poetry today before he forgets that he has something for you. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Hugh.